What's up, guys? It's time to review an underrated Wes Craven classic, The People Under the Stairs. Let's do this. The People Under the Stairs stars Brandon Quinton Adams, Ving Rhames, Everett McGill, and is directed by Wes Craven. What is up, guys? First off, a huge, big thank you to Holly Klein for sending me this, The People Under the Stairs. She wanted me to review this movie so much that she actually sent me the Blu-ray. And I'm sorry for the wait, but really been looking forward to getting to this one, actually. I just watched it the other night, and it's always fun to watch a Wes Craven movie because he does have a few movies that I still haven't seen yet. John Carpenter has a couple movies I still haven't seen yet, but I always know that when I watch a Wes Craven movie, I'm gonna get some good quality in there because he was just that great of a director. And before I get into this review, speaking of Wes Craven, his first movie, Last House on the Left, just blew my mind. I reviewed this movie, right? And just recently, one of the characters from that movie, Junior, played by Mark Scheffler, his daughter actually reached out to me. That scene between him and Sandra Cassell, when he has her in the grips over that cliff, and he literally told her the play-by-play, and she got it back to me. And I'm going to read you real quick what he said. We were shooting the scene when Mari was trying to get me to help her escape. The location was a natural ledge overlooking a creek, about 15 feet below us. This is his words. And I could be wrong about the distance. We shot the master, which is a wider shot in the entire scene. Then Wes Craven reset the camera for over-the-shoulder close-ups so that he could edit the scene using all the shots. He shot mine first. He got what he wanted from me in only a few takes. When he reset again for Sandra, it was a different story. Take after take after take, she wasn't there emotionally, meaning she wasn't acting like a girl in fear for her life. Everyone on the set was getting restless, and Wes was a bit frustrated. I went to him and said, I have an idea, which my hand behind my back, when I signal you, start shooting. I returned to my position next to her, and I pushed and held her a little over the cliff. Immediately, she got scared. That's when I told her quietly that if she didn't get it right this time, I was going to push her over completely. It wasn't so high up that she'd get hurt seriously, but the fear on her face in that moment was real. I then gave Wes the signal, and boom, take shot. And it's the one on the film. Nothing malicious, just wanted to make the day and get out of there before the light faded. And she was never in any real danger, just the perception of it. I hope this clears things up. How awesome is that? The actor in the movie, his daughter, gives me this information. So freaking cool. But she said I could say her name. Her name is Madison Telford. So thank you so much, Madison, for supplying that. That's just too cool. Just one of the cool things about this hobby that I do, reviewing movies. Every now and then something cool like that will happen. But anyway, we're talking about The People Under the Stairs. And it's perfectly fitting, too, because we're in February. This is Black History Month. And the main character in this movie, a lot of the characters in this movie, they're African-American people. And I have a list on my phone right now of horror movies with black characters. So I'm planning on shooting that real soon. But this movie kind of reminds me of Candyman a little bit. It's one of those inner city types of movies. You have this family, the mother's dying of cancer. And they need to pay the rent, but they don't have the money to pay the rent. And they've been threatened with eviction if they don't pay the rent. So the son, Brandon, who is called Fool in the movie, he is propositioned by a family friend, Leroy, played by the great Ving Rhames, to basically do a burglary job. And the house that they go to is the wrong house to go to. It's this really deranged, incestual family with a lot of creepy shit going on in that house. And Fool and Leroy and his crew, they end up getting stuck in the house. And so the rest of this movie is basically a home invasion movie in reverse. They're in the house of the bad people. And so they got to figure out a way to get out. I love these types of movies too. Kind of reminded me of Don't Breathe, where you got robbers in the complete wrong place. Also like The Collector. For some reason, every time I see one of these movies, it's always a hit. It always works. When you put baddies with even more baddies, then the results are great. You blend that together, and it's just a recipe for a horror souffle. I just created a new thing, horror souffle. Let's see if we can hashtag that. But what's great about this movie too is it takes its time. Wes Craven puts story above all else. He just happens to be a horror director. To me, those are the best horror directors. The ones that aren't automatically thinking about how I'm going to scare the audience. I mean, that's the intention. but they think about, what story am I going to tell first? How is this interesting, and how is it different than everything else that's out there? Wes Craven was a master at this. This is such a unique story to have this like inner city, poor family, and they're trying to figure out a way just to make ends meet, and then they get trapped in this horrible situation. I think that's great stuff. And what's great about this movie too is Fool, he's just this little kid, and so the hero of the story, the one that saves the day, is Fool. And it's ironic that his name's Fool, but he's just this little bitty kid. And he is awesome in this movie. He really has to use his mind and figure out a way to get out of this situation. Now, the big question that everybody has that hasn't seen this movie is, who are the people under the stairs? And it's a really interesting story, and really creepy story, actually. This touches on that whole relationship with fathers and sons, you know? Fathers always want to have a son first. It seems like they want to have a son first, and they always want to have like the perfect son. And so this guy is so obsessed with that idea that he's willing to pretty much throw away the bad parts. It kind of reminded me of like 300. Remember in 300 when any of the kids that were born deformed or anything that were just discarded? Well, this guy, he does the same thing. He discards the kids, the boys, into the basement. And they're child thieves. Mother, she doesn't even give birth to these kids. They literally steal them from the neighborhood, and then they put them down below. This movie gets pretty dark, especially when they get down below, because you see like cannibalism. The father literally feeds flesh to the people under the stairs. I've jumped ahead of myself. I've Tarantino'd this review. How did we get to this? And it's funny that I mentioned Tarantino. Ving Rhames, who was in Pulp Fiction, it's just a coincidence that before he did Pulp Fiction, he did another movie where he's captured by this demented, crazy white people that torture him in a basement. And it just so happens that one of them is wearing a gimp suit, or a bondage suit. I know a gimp is a person with a bum leg or something like that, but I always think of the guy in the bondage when I hear Bring Out the Gimp. This movie has a gimp. How crazy is that? So take that, Tarantino. Craven did it first. But poor Ving Rhames, after he's killed, his body, his flesh is fed to all these people under the stairs. That's great horror stuff right there. There's also this character Alice, played by AJ Langer, and I'm sure that's intentional that her name is Alice, because Alice going down the rabbit hole. This movie deals with going downstairs, and as you go downstairs, it gets darker. So yeah, she even looks like Alice from Alice in Wonderland. She's got the dress on and everything, but she's kind of like a victim of circumstance. She is another child that was stolen, and so she has to see all her brothers, I guess foster brothers, just be cast out like they're nothing. So, I mean, physically, psychologically, this movie deals with a lot of child issues. And it makes me think of like Wes Craven's childhood, knowing that he came from like a big Baptist upbringing. And so there's a level of like judgment when you're raised in a super religious type of family. I'm not going to say that this family in this movie is super religious, but they do hint at it a few times in the movie, and I think that just makes it more interesting. I think when you combine religion and horror, a lot of times it works pretty well if done right. Now, the one person under the stairs that they focus on the most is this character, Roach, played by Sean Whalen. And this was an actor that I've seen pop up time and time again, through the years. In this movie, he's pretty much a mute. He can't even talk because his tongue was ripped out. I remember him from Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 when Myers pretty much just obliterates him and then picks up the car Incredible Hulk style and throws it over the hill. Now, one other observation I have about the people under the stairs is it has what I like to call a double ending. Meaning that the first ending, the movie could end right there, which is where Fool gets out of the house. He defeats the danger, he's done. You could technically end the movie right there, but no. He goes back into the house to add another act to the movie. And he goes back into the house to save Alice, which cements him as like a gold star final guy. Did I just make up another term? A gold star final guy. That's what I'm going to call him. You got your regular final guys, and then you got your gold star final guys who go above and beyond. So he's a gold star final guy. But this movie, it's a meal. It's a huge meal. You get so full from it. There's so much to grab onto. It offers just a lot of interesting ideas. It's a little dated for its time. I mean, you can tell that this is a movie from like the early 90s. It even has like a little bit of a late 80s feel. And I think they're literally developing this into like a TV movie at the moment. I looked on IMDb and I noticed that, which doesn't surprise me. When I was watching this movie, I was like, why hasn't this been remade yet, and when will it be remade? Because they remake everything, and especially if it's got Craven or Carpenter on it, it's definitely going to be remade. But to me, it's a Craven classic. I'm giving this a high purchase worth. Definitely love the hell out of it. Thank you so much, Holly, for sending me the Blu-ray. Enjoyed the movie quite immensely, actually. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.